Good day everyone, I am Marvin Goret, a BT to a major in automotive technology, and for today's video I will enumerate and discuss postmodern and modern culture in a worldwide view. Uh, what is postmodernism? It is a term current inside and outside the academic study of popular culture. It has entered discourse as different as pop music, journalism, and Marxist debates on the cultural conditions of late or multinational capitalism. It is, according to Angela McRobbie, 1994, observes, uh, postmodernism has entered into a more diverse number of vocabularies more quickly than most other intellectual categories. It has spread outwards from the realms of art history into political theory and to the pages of youth culture magazines, record sleeves, and the fashion pages of Vaggie. This seems to be indicate something more than the mere um, vagaries of taste. For the purpose of this discussion, I will, with the exemption of some necessary theoretical exposition, consider postmodernism only as it relates to the study of popular culture. To facilitate this, I will focus on the development of postmodern um, theory from the beginnings in the United States and Britain in the late 1950s and 1960s. Its theorization in the work of Francis Lyotard, Jean Baud- Baudrillard, and Frederick Jameson. This is followed by discussion of two examples of postmodern culture, pop music, and television. The chapter will conduct with a discussion of three more general aspects of postmodernism. And let's go to let's go for postmodernism in 1960s. Although the term postmodern had been a cultural circulation since the 1870s, it is only in the late of 1950s and 1960s that we see the beginnings of what is understood as postmodernism. In the work of Susan Sontag and Leslie Fiedler, we encountered the celebration of what Sontag calls a new sensibility. Um, it is a part. It is part a sensibility in revolt against the connotation of modernism's avant avant-garde revolution. It attacks modernism official status, its canonization in the museum and the academy. As a high culture of modern capitalist world, it laments the passing of the scandalous and bohemian power of modernism, its ability to shock and disgust the middle class. Instead of outraging from critical margins of bourgeois society, the work of Pablo Picasso, James Joyce, T.S. Eliot, Virginia Woolf, Bertolt Brecht, Igor Stravinsky, and others, had not only lost the ability to shock and disturb, but also become central classical in word. Canonized modernist culture has become bourgeois culture. Its subs- subversive power has been drained by the academy and the museum. It is now a canon against which an avant-garde must struggle. For Jean Francis Lyotard, the principal contribution to the debate on postmodernism as the postmodernism condition, published in France in 1979 and translated into English in 1984. The influence of this book on the debate been enormous in many respects. It was this book that introduced the term postmodernism into academic circulation. For Lyotard, the postmodernism condition is a mark by a crisis in the status of knowledge in Western societies. Is expressed as an incredulity towards meta narratives and what he calls the obsolescence of the meta-narrative apparatus of legitimation. Lyotard enlightenment, the accumulation of scientific knowledge, is to play a central role in a gradual emancipation of humankind. And let's go to Jean Baudrillard. For Baudrillard, according Best and Killiner 1991, has achieved Guru status throughout the English-speaking world. They claim that Baudrillard has emerged as one of the most high-profile postmodernism theorists. His presence has not been confined to the world of academia. Articles and interviews have appeared in many popular magazines. Uh, Baudrillard claims that we have reached a stage in a social and economic development in which it is no longer possible to separate the economic to productive realm from the realms of ideology or culture, since cultural artifacts, images, representations, even feelings, and psychic structures have become part of the world of economic. And let's go for the Frederick Jameson story. Uh, Frederick Jameson is an American Marxist cultural critic who have written a number of very influential essays on postmodernism. Where Jameson differs from the theorist is in his instance that postmodernism can best be theorized from within a Marxist or neo-Marxist framework. For Jameson, postmodernism is more just a particular cultural style. It is above of all periodizing concept. Postmodernism is the cultural dominant of late or multinational capitalism. His argument is informed by Ernest Mandel's from 1978 characterization of capitalism, three-stage development, market capitalism, monopoly capitalism, and late or uncommodified multinational capitalism. Postmodern pop music, a discussion of postmodernism and popular culture might highlight any number of different cultural texts and practices. For example, television, music video, advertising, film, pop music, fashion. We have a space here to consider only two examples: television and pop music. For Jameson's argument, the difference between modernist and postmodernist mod, uh, pop music is quite clear. The Beatles and the Rolling Stones represent a modernist moment against which punk rock. And let's go for the postmodern television. Like pop music does not have a period of modernism to which uh, it can be paused, but as Jim Collins in 1992 points out, television is often seen as the quintessence of postmodern culture. This claim can be made on the basis of a number of television textual and contextual features. If we take negative view of postmodernism as the domain of simulation, then television seems an obvious example of the process, with its supposed reduction of complexities of world to ever-changing flow of depthless and banal visual imagery. And let's go for postmodernism and the pluralism of value. Has disturbed many of all certainties surrounding questions of cultural values. In postmodernism, has disturbed in particular, it is problematized the question of why some texts are canonized while others disappear without trace. That is why only certain texts supposedly passed the test of time. There are number of ways to answer the questions. First, we can insist that texts which are valued and become part of what Williams calls the selective tradition are those which are sufficiently polysemic to sustain multiple and continuous questions. And let's go for the global postmodernism. One way in which the world is said to becoming postmodern is in its increasing globalization. Perhaps the dominant view of globalization, especially in discussion of globalization and culture, is to see it as the reduction of world to an American global village, a global village in which everyone speaks English, with an reduction of the world to American global village, American accent. And let's go on for convergence culture. Another aspect of postmodernism is convergence culture, where old and new media collide, where grassroots and corporate media intersect, where the power of the producer and the power of media consumer interact in unpredictable ways. Convergence involves the flow of media content across the range of different platforms. This is not simply a matter of new technologies but a process that requires the active participation of consumers. Convergence culture, like most popular culture discussed in his book, is a site of struggle and negotiation. And it cannot be explained and understood as something imposed from above or something spontaneously emerging from below, but as contradictory combination of both forces.